your home of football.
After a fourth win out of 4 against Liverpool, Louis van Gaal says his side can win the title, while Liverpool's top 4 hopes took a major hit. Leicester and Arsenal both picked up a point on the road, while Manchester City closed to within touching distance of the top 2. Tonight on Monday Night Football, Watford are at the Liberty Stadium to face Swansea, who after 5 years of security in the Premier League are now in a major relegation scrap. Gary Monk's departure sent the Swansea hierarchy around the globe on the hunt for a replacement. In the end, they went with a local hero, Alan Curtis. But 7 games in charge have yielded only 1 win. And now another twist. Italian Francesco Guidolin has been brought in to help save their season. Watford won the reverse fixture back in September, and by Boxing Day they'd already bettered their previous Premier League points total. Despite 3 defeats on the spin, it's been a remarkable return to the big time.
That is what he can do! Watford making life in the Premier League look so easy. This man is on a roll! Cortini! Watford are doing it time and time and time again, continuing to take the Premier League by storm.
Yes, they've surprised everyone. He had a brilliant December and was manager of the month, but after 4 straight wins, Watford are now looking to avoid 4 straight defeats. Alan Curtis and Swansea had a week to forget. Dumped out of the FA Cup by Oxford, then it all went wrong against Sunderland. In front of their new head coach tonight, they need to halt this alarming slide. It's a key night then for Swansea at the Liberty Stadium as they host Watford for the first time in the top division since 1983. And it's live on the Monday Night Football. At the start of the season, Watford were the team expected to be in a relegation battle, but it's turned out to be Swansea. And this weekend, they fell into the drop zone for the 2nd time this season. But a win tonight would move them back above Newcastle. Their win on Saturday moved them out of the relegation zone for the first time since Christmas Day. Below them, Sunderland dropped back to 19th and Aston Villa remain bottom, now 9 points adrift of safety. Watford in the bottom half for the first time since November. Well, Manchester United's win at Anfield yesterday lifted them to 5th, 2 points off the top 4. No movement in that top 4 from the start of the weekend, but now only 1 point separates the top 3. Arsenal reclaimed top spot from Leicester on Super Sunday, the 19th time the lead has changed this season. So it's Swansea against Watford tonight, and with us is the man who's managed both those clubs and managed the man alongside him tonight. Brendan, great to have you with us.
Pleasure.
This evening. So Swansea have named the new head coach today, and in your time there and afterwards as well, Swansea often seen as the benchmark, if you like, for recruitment, but this process seems a strange one, almost un-Swansea-like. Would that be fair?
I think it's one where they've always made the right decisions, Swansea, and I think that obviously they've obviously had an idea that they wanted to bring someone in, obviously after Gary left, but Swansea will always, they won't make a rash decision. That they'll feel that if they couldn't get the right man in, then that Alan was the guy that was going to, in certainly the short term, be able to offer that stability, because he's a great guy, he knows the club inside out, and I'll obviously see him as the guy who could stabilise it until they could get someone in. So, but I was surprised but not surprised, because they always stick to their principles, Swansea, and do it how they want to do it and not how maybe others would like them to do it.
You say Alan Curtis is a great guy.
Yeah.
You know him really well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's only a few days ago where they told him he was in charge at the end of the season. What's he going to be making all of this?
No, Alan will be fine. He's certainly in no ego trip. He's a great guy. He always wants what's best for the club. I took Alan to work with me when I was there as the manager, and he was a wonderful support. He's hugely respected around the city of Swansea, within the players, and I'm glad for him that he's got someone else in now because, as I said, he's never ever said or never ever wanted to be a manager. He's always been there as a Swansea guy through and through who wants to help and support the manager in charge, and obviously they've brought in a guy now who will probably take over that sort of main role, and Alan will provide a great support for them.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to work. Let's tell you a bit more about Francesco Guidolin then. Swansea will be the 14th club he has taken charge of in total in his managerial career. Had his best spell at Udinese. He twice took them into the Champions League playoffs. His only experience of managing outside Italy came in 2005. He had a short spell in charge of Monaco. Look at the bottom line there. He worked for the Pozzo family before, of course, own Watford. He's got experience, Jamie, but is this a bit left field? How big a risk are they taking?
It is. It's un-Swansea-like, really. I mean, the chairman, Brendan, knows him better than me. He's at times been ruthless. You think of Michael Laudrup, you know, winning a trophy, having a really good first season, but then asked him when he thought there was a chance of relegation, so give Gary Monk the job. Gary Monk, fantastic. But the slight difference was, I think, first time around, you had Gary Monk there, someone who knew what the club was about, maybe the principles Brendan had instilled at the club. But now, I just think they've been better off keeping Gary Monk rather than the situation that they have. And you think of the fantastic job he did last year, the start of this season. He had a trouble spell, as all managers do. I think that's one where they should have stuck with him until they did have someone, rather than finding themselves in this position now.
Lots more to come on that through the evening. Let's look back at the weekend now. Manchester United, Brendan, as we...
Jamie, where you know how much they mean to everyone, but for them, they kept a clean sheet. They probably weren't so bothered about how they played. They got the 3 points, and they look at where they sit in the table and feel that if they can get a run of 8, 9, 10 wins, they can bear me a great chance.
4 times out of 4 he's beaten Liverpool now, Louis van Gaal. It's a nice habit to have that he's got in these big games. Look at this, 29 points from 16 games against last season's top 6 under Louis van Gaal. Only 3 defeats in that time, and Brendan, he's taken a lot of criticism, as you know. He certainly knows how to win big games, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a top-class manager, you know, he's hugely experienced. He's worked at some of the biggest clubs in the world, and he's at Manchester United and won big games. So, but when you're at the big club, it's not just about the winning, it's about the style in which you play, and obviously that has been the criticism that's been labelled at him. But in terms of management, I think he's a top-class manager and has been for many years.
Was that a day in a match yesterday that summed up Liverpool's season, Jamie?
I think so. Problems at either end. I think there was chances there for Liverpool yesterday to win the game. I think De Gea was rightly man of the match. And we see that with the graphic now and where they rank. And I think with Brendan being here as well, it's probably similar statistics that we saw started the season. Not being able to finish, maybe having that striker. But the one alarming one, as we go down that list, is where Liverpool are bottom of the table, is conceding from corners. And again, that was the problem, where the goal come from. We're going to have a look at the goal. And coming in this morning, my first thought was Jurgen Klopp has to change something within these set pieces because they're conceding too many goals. But we looked at the goals they concede. This is a split screen. At the top, we have the Watford game. Now, he has changed something. This is mainly a zonal system. You see the normal 3, Chan, Skrtel, Sacco, that's normal for zonal. So is this man in the front space, I think it's Adam Lallana. And they have Klein at the back post. So that's 5 men in the zone. And what he's then done is Lucas, Henderson, and it's Firmino there. He doesn't have a man to pick up because Watford have so many men in the 6-yard box. So it's 5 in a zone and 3 picking up. What he changed for the Manchester United game, as we see here, he flipped that. So he went to Kolo Touré, Sacco, and James Milner. So he had 3 in the zone, and then he had the 5 players picking up. Klein was on the edge of the box with Lingard. Firmino was with Martial. Lucas, Rooney, Henderson, we know, was with Fellaini as he comes in. And I think we see the bottom of Emre Can there picking up on the edge of the box. So he has come away from it. It's a bit of zone, a bit of man marking. But with you here, Brendan, it's a big topic in football. that it always comes up each week. What are you, zonal, man marking, a mixture of both?
Yeah, no, my preference is man for man. Normally, the opponent will send 5 players into the box. Normally 1 in round the keeper, and then 4 attacking the ball and splitting their runs into the various areas. So for me, my preference is 4 to mark them, and then a defender to be in round the guy that's normally in round the keeper.
But when you come in, that's something you changed though at Liverpool, wasn't it? When you initially come in as a zone.
Yeah, well, again, when you're conceding goals, and like Jurgen has probably seen here, they'll have conceded them far too easily. You have to intervene at some point. So whatever your preference is, if you've got guys that can't win the duel 1 versus 1 and are getting beaten too easily, you have to find a different way. And obviously, if you're man-to-man, you'll normally then go to a zonal defending to try and obviously help the team.
Well, that's the setup anyway. So let's look at sort of how Liverpool's set up. And I just want to highlight the position here of Moreno. His job, as we see with the Manchester United players, and in the front space, James Milner, as we've shown, was picking up. So that stops the short corner. Liverpool clear the ball. And now we get to the goal. Now, I just want to first of all, as Daley Blin's running over to get that, that is now James Milner, and that's Alberto Moreno, and this is now Jordan Ibe, who's come on as a substitute. We'll bring this up shortly with Brendan, but in terms of Graham Souness was very critical of Jordan Ibe, saying that he switched off. I think if we just highlight him, I don't think he switches off. I think he's well aware of what's going on. If you actually watch him slowly, he's ready to go. He's ready to, as soon as that ball gets taken, but his problem is his starting position is wrong. He maybe thinks he's quicker than what he is. Moreno's position was there. It gives you a chance to get there, and he can't get there in time. But when it's a fantastic ball like that, you've got Fellaini, it's always going to cause you a problem. Fantastic finish from Rooney. But in terms of sort of substitutions, Brendan, in how it affects set pieces, how important is that for you as a manager?
Well, it's vital, Jamie. You see it there, it's cost Liverpool the game. I think what you obviously set up your organisation, then the problem comes within the game whenever you have to make the changes. What is vitally important, the coaching staff, the manager, you give the information to the players on the side, and then where there's changes, which happens within the game, you really have to hope that that player goes onto the field and gives out that information, because normally, as I said, if it's a smaller player coming on for a taller player, then there's going to be an adjustment somewhere in the marking.
So even when you're making a substitution, the game's going on, forget set pieces. Your actually first instruction for the player to go on is to sort the set pieces out, forget what the game's going on, rather than try and organise it at the last minute. Yeah, absolutely. And I always say to players, in particular young players, I think, in fairness to young Jordan there, that's just a little bit of inexperience. I think everyone sees he's super fast, he's quick. He's gone out, and probably all the other corners, they maybe didn't play short, Manchester United, so they may be thinking that they won't play it short and it's going to come in first time. It's just his distance, like you said, and he'll get that through experience. But no, the players coming on need to be able to be concentrated on the side of the field. You're not just sat watching the game. You've got to be watching the game and really focused in on what your job is. And then when the coaches or manager takes you through your role at set pieces, it's vitally important you understand exactly what your job is, and you can go onto the field and your team can make the adjustment.
And we'll be watching the set pieces very closely tonight at the Liberty Stadium. And Swansea, well, there was a danger of their season unravelling. In the bottom 3, 1 win since October. They've now turned to an Italian head coach who'll be watching in the stands tonight. Next, we will talk tactics with Brendan, including how to get the best out of your front men.
Keep legend in Sky Store now.
Well, the goalkeepers were so important on Super Sunday yesterday. What will happen on Monday Night Football as Swansea meet Watford? Watford won the first meeting this season and could complete its first ever Premier League double tonight. Let's look at the two teams. One change to the Swansea side, so the one beaten by Sunderland. Jack Cork comes into midfield for Mo Barrow, who drops to the bench. Cork played under Brendan Rodgers at Watford, and it looks like a change in formation tonight, with them going 4-3-3. 3 changes to the Watford side that lost at St Mary's in the week. In come Cathcart and Ake to the back 4. Nathan Ake back from his ban, and Bayrami makes his first start for 4 months. Let's get a word from their manager, Kike Flores, with Greg Wheeler.
Kike, Swansea are desperate for a win tonight. They want to get out of the bottom 3. What kind of performance do you feel you need from your team tonight?
First, we are expecting to recuperate our best performance. Of course, we are not happy with the last match. We are really far of our normal performance. So we need to recuperate the passion for the play. So in this case, we are with the idea to recuperate the level. Of course, underestimate never the opponent. The opponent with Swansea, they have very good players. It's a very uncomfortable position for Swansea in the table league. So we are expecting for a very tough team.
Kike, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
So he goes with a front 2 once again, which seems to have gone out of fashion of late, Brendan. Getting 2 strikers in, is that a conundrum you often had?
Well, certainly in my first couple of seasons, and when we signed Daniel Sturridge and we had Louis there, they were 2 top-class players, and it was the case of trying to get them into the team, because the goals and what they can create for the team was going to give us a great opportunity to win games. So that was something that in my first season, in the second half, and Jamie was there at the time, where I was thinking about how to fit them in for the following season as a combination.
I think these stats of the 13-14 show where Liverpool almost won the league. I think you were right to do so, do you think?
I think so.
But you see, the effect they had on Liverpool's season, how impressive they were. And we're going to look at, Brendan, different ways how you get 2 front. I think it is a problem sometimes for managers. They say they like strikers on the books, but sometimes trying to get 2 into a team is difficult, as you mentioned. Now, this was the first time they come together in that season after Luis Suarez's ban. And this is a 3-5-2 system. This was a way of getting them in the team. You see the back 3 there. There's the 2 wing-backs, 2 central midfield players. I think it was Victor Moses off the front, and the 2 frontmen will come into shot shortly. But this was the first time you got them together that season. Yeah, well, and there they are as a front 2 now. So what was you thinking in playing a back 3? Because that was something you tried the year before with me as well at Fulham.
Yeah, I think at that time, Jamie, I was talking about, I had my mind on the Fulham could get these 2 fluently into the team, because they're such a threat. And obviously Lou, as you see, is a world-class talent, and Daniel, when he's available, has that world-class ability. But he'd just come back from obviously a ban, Louis, and this was as I said, the beginning of that sort of relationship.
So it's a way basic. You get them 2 up the top of the pitch, and what comes behind that was your first idea, 3 at the back, but you come away from that, maybe as the season went on, to more of a back 4?
Yeah, back 4. For me, the system was irrelevant. It was more about the style, and then more about trying to get the creative players into the team. So the system was irrelevant. It was just about getting those in and letting the team function from it.
Well, when I'm talking about playing a back 4, how it went that second half of the season, it became more sort of 4-3-3. And what I've always wanted to ask is, how did you decide which of Sturridge or Suarez played wide, which side, and did the opposition also come into that as well? This is the Everton game.
Yeah, so in this game, for example, this was the home game that we were preparing for. And what I felt going into this game, like you say, they want to play together. But sometimes I felt that at times flipping to that sort of 4-3-3 would help us. And the example in this game here was that I felt that young John Stones, who's an outstanding player, when he was coming into the team at Everton, he was playing as a right back. And he was very good going forward. So for me, and like Roberto's teams do, they do very, very well. They want to open up and play the game. For me, rather than have the 2 central, I would keep my 3 in midfield. And I was asking Daniel in this game to try and then exploit the space that John Stones would leave. Yeah. And what we were saying was that when John Stones went forward, you stay and never be on the other side of him. Never be in the goal side.
So he goes to a certain position like there now and then
Absolutely.
stops.
So he sees position now. He's taken it off of Jordan Henderson. So now when we win the ball back in that sort of counter press and transition, he's in. He's already got the run. You're not catching. Once Daniel's away, he's away, and especially with a head start here. So we win the ball back, great pressure in the middle of the field, and then he's away.
So why wouldn't you use, say, Luis Suarez then? Maybe for the extra pace on that side?
Just for the extra pace and just to really, really make him think. Because my feeling was on that side, you'd obviously Baines. I'd put a sort of worker on that side to try and control him. And obviously put Daniel on this side where I feel...
That one now. Now, the flip side of that, again, is Luis Suarez. Now, he is on the right side in this game. Now, also, we'll get to why you did have in that game, but how difficult was it for you building up to a game? Because strikers don't like playing wide. Yeah. How did you speak to them? How did you decide? How did they take the decision that they were the wide players? Because I'm sure they both wanted to play centrally.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were great, but you've got to try and convince them that this is the best possibility for the team. It was never going to be something that was longer term because both of them are central players. In this game, it was the opposite to that.
What was the reasoning for that then, that you went straight through the middle?
Well, I thought with Daniel here, up against Mertesacker, who's an outstanding defender, but I thought Daniel's pace could hurt them. And instead of having Louis on this side, so sort of stop it here, he was on the right. Yeah. Monreal was good going forward, and I gave the same information to Louis. When they attack down that side, I want you to be more this side of the defender. So there's a gamble for us here. So you've got to let him go. But when we win the ball, I felt that, as I said, that transition for us would have been good.
If you see Louis there, he lets him go to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Do you think he's working? Is that how far you wanted him coming back?
No, I didn't even want him to go that far, but he's such a conscientious player, Louis, that he still feels that when the guy runs, he wants to go with him. But you see some wingers, where they're asked to play, they're back in level. Yeah. So when they win the ball, there's no advantage, really. So for us, Jordan was brilliant. You see him here, we also put the pressure on.
Well, I think you're right, Jordan.
Louis left. The goals have gone right out of the team, and not only that, with Daniel being injured, people look at, and obviously Jurgen is the issue now and the problem now as well, people talking about the number of goals, strikers. That season when we finished runners-up, if you look at that front five of Suarez, Sturridge, Sterling, Henderson and Coutinho.
And the five behind.
And the five behind then defending. OK, so you had five on the attack, you had the five behind, plus the goalkeeper. You're going to score goals. And as I said, they were absolutely outstanding.
Well, that was the outstanding sort of performance, I think, in that season. But this, again, highlights...
Young Phil pressing the ball, and then that's what he can do. He can make the pass. Daniel's on his bike, and then we go in, and he gets the goal, and we're 4-0 up.
The other way, you know, we look at it now, the way you found to get the two strikers on the pitch. We've looked at three at the back, we've looked at one from the side. This was something you played towards the end of the season a lot, the diamond system. And we see it there, we see the back four, but you've got the midfield there and the front two. What would be the reasoning to play the diamond, and specifically against, say, Man City in this game? What was the thinking?
Well, the thinking in these games here, and particularly the big games, you know, we travelled away to Southampton and then Manchester United, obviously Manchester City here. The big teams normally want to play. They want to open up the pitch, especially away from home when they want to get forward, and Man City were a big team. So for me, the opportunity to exploit with the two front players, the spaces that they had, with Raheem in behind that, with his speed, and also to give us the four in the middle of the field with that superiority. Man City, you know, will be playing three in there, but that would allow us to dominate the centre of the field, but give us that real threat at the top end.
So what you're saying, so against the big teams, most fullbacks like to push forward. So do you think a diamond system against top teams can sort of, at times, leave you 2v2? Sort of, you're two fantastic strikers against two centre-backs.
Well, that was what I was selling to the players, because I was happy for us to defend. So if you think with the goalkeeper in here, you've got 9 players defending. Yeah. And I'm happy, if a team wants to push on the fullback, I'm happy for Daniel Sturridge and Luis Suarez to play 2v2 in half a pitch. Yeah. Because of their speed, their movement, and their quality.
What was the thinking in terms of Raheem playing that position? What would he give you in there?
he gives you the penetration. He was remarkable in that role. He can find the space. He's hard to pin down. And that game there, it was just trying to get in the back of the midfield. Daniel's a mover, Lou is a mover.
Penetrate through the middle.
He penetrate through the middle.
Well, we've gone through all the different sort of systems of trying to get a front two. The only one we haven't gone to is 4-4-2. Is that something that I can never sort of remember you playing in your teams at Liverpool, or something you talked about playing? Is that something you'd ever think about?
Yeah, I would consider it. Like I said, it was more the style as opposed to the system, Jamie. But I've always, in my development as a youth coach and a coach, I predominantly went with more lines on the field. Not to say that this system's any bad or worse than the other. I've just always liked to have had, with 4-4-2, unless the wide players are flexible, they can come on the inside, they give you the numbers. But I've always tried to create a difficulty for the opponent in terms of how to press.
So maybe you think it's maybe easier to stop, maybe you've got a passing team, you're talking about passing angles and maybe finding people in different positions. Is that what you're talking about when you're talking about different lines rather than being in straight lines?
Absolutely, yeah. And listen, don't get me wrong, the top teams can play that for sure. You know, we played Real Madrid in the Champions League, and when they had the ball, they were 4-3-3, and when they defended, they were 4-4-2. So within the game, they were changing their system and structure. But it's just that my preference, I've always tried to open up as many lines on the field in order, firstly, to press the game and to have the ball and penetrate.
I suppose in terms of giving the opposition a problem, it does, but it probably gives you your own team more passing options when they're in sort of different positions, strange positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the most difficult way to defend. You know, the short pass is difficult to get there. So as a defender, if the ball's moving quickly over that 10-15 metre area, as a defensive player or a team defending, it's much more difficult rather than, say, one ball or a straight line ball. I've always just found it.
You know, in terms of going from, sorry, Brendan, in terms of going from the diamonds, is there something you've ever done? It was something that you mentioned about the Norwich game, in terms of playing a diamond. There was more of a twist on it, if you like.
Yeah, we had. It was something that I'd seen in a youth game when I was taking Chelsea in one of the youth tournaments in Europe. And this is the benefit when you're a youth coach. You know, if you progress through to becoming a manager, you'll find out lots of things as a.
Well, what was it? What was it? So was it a diamond that you spoke about? Yeah. Did the diamond come from sort of your youth? That's something that you saw. Yeah,
very much so. I was very much 4-3-3 in a diamond because it just flips very easily. If you want to change the system, if you actually look at it, whatever way it goes, it's very quickly. There's not a great change in the structure, or you just drop one in and pull them in. But what I'd experienced in the youth tournament, which I found fascinating, was that we played a team that South American team that were 4-3-3 and we were 4-3-3, and it was a real old experienced coach who was taking it. He'd obviously been a manager, come down, and he was now taking the youth team, and we were dominating the game. And the likes of young Jack Cork and that would have been playing in it, you know, in the game. He changed to a diamond, and they had the advantage centrally in the game. So they had now 4 versus 3. So I needed to change it, and I matched up the diamond. And then we had, you know, probably the better of the game. And then he'd done something in the second half of the game that I found fascinating. I'd never ever seen it before, where to get the numbers, so it was a diamond versus a diamond. What he did was he took out one of his players here and just put him in the centre of the diamond. And this guy became a more central sort of runner in the game. He had the guy in behind. But now he created his overload 5 versus 4. And I'd made a real mental note of that. I thought it was a great move. And so we were on our run. And leading into the game, we'd been playing a diamond. We were obviously playing Norwich away. And Neil Adams had just gone in and was going to be the manager. We had a feeling that he was going to set up as a diamond. So we'd actually prepared the team to start off in the first 20 minutes to half hour to play young Phil Coutinho in this space. So we had Louis through the middle, we had Raheem, we had Joe Allen and Jordan, Stevie at the bottom, and then young Phil in there. And for that opening period, we were excellent. You know, we were 2-0 up at half-time in the game. We eventually won the game 3-2, But this was something that was different, and I enjoy that side of coaching and trying to find different ways.
To pick you up on something you said earlier, you said when you went 3 at the back. Talk us through how that evolved and came about.
Well, that was simple, Ed. That was purely... We had been building a team for 2 years to be really aggressive in defending and in attack. And we got to the end of the second season when we finished runners-up, and we'd scored 101 goals. Changes in the summer, of course, but we still wanted to keep that identity of working and playing. And at the beginning of the season, we had no real possession. We had no running or movement in behind. We couldn't really create a chance. And we were a million miles away in terms of our game, what we were for 2 years.
Well, is this it sort of working at its best? I mean, the problems you caused sort of teams, and where did this idea sort of come from? Where did it originate?
Yeah, first came whenever we were playing in the Champions League game against Basel. They had to make a change in the game. They were 4-2-3-1, made a change in the game. And the right back that they put on was actually a winger.
Yeah.
He was running up so far that it was pushing the winger inside. And the winger was coming right in on top of the 10, and the guy in the number 10 position was then slid across. So it actually gave them a box.
In terms of, we spoke before about getting 2 strikers, how you find a way. Was that a way of finding a way to get 2 number 10s? You like to play in that central lead, talking about that midfield box, we spoke about it a lot when you were playing it. But the problems those positions cause for teams for 3 or 4 months in the season, was that a big part of that system?
Yeah, it was about looking to get the players on the field, that one, that could press the game, and 2, could create and score a goal. So getting the technical players onto the field, because what we were doing beforehand, we'd won some games, but it wasn't really what and how we wanted to play and how we wanted it to work. So by setting up this sort of system here, allowed us to have width on the pitch. You've always got the numerical advantage, so you get 3 from behind, you get 4 in the middle, the 2 guys stretching it on the sides. And what I'd done was I went with attacking players here.
Yeah, in the wide areas.
Yeah. And then it meant you had players central and arriving in the box.
Well, as I said, that system caused teams so many problems, and you had a fantastic run where I think it was 13 or 14 games. But you come away from it. I just wanted to, you've told us why you started it. Maybe you had to find a way of getting those players in the team. Is this a problem with 3-4-3? And this is the Manchester United game, and I want to highlight 2 players. When a team play, I think that may have been Di Maria on the day, and that was Mata. Is that a problem for you when you're playing that system when teams play 2 wingers?
Yeah, that's one of the ways in which it can negate how you work. I think what we had been is we had always these 2 guys here on the side, so Alberto here, the player on the other side, pushed right on, pressing the fullback. Yeah. And then everyone else was squeezed in behind that. But for some reason in this game, when we started, our distances were too far away. And you see it here, that we're near enough come into it. Ends up being like a back 4 here, but that was never how we'd been working up until that point. So I think whether it was nerves, whether it was we just couldn't get our distances right.
But is that there where we look at Moreno, is that where you get that grey area? You're talking about you want your wing back to press the game. Is that where you have that problem, where it causes your players don't quite know what they're doing?
Well, that there asks the question of the defender. Normally what happened in the teams we played here, this guy would be here in front of him. So then he's in a half-and-half position to jump. But now, by him being right on the shoulder, right on the limit of the defender, he's now asking the question of Alberto, are you going to go there? Because the distance you can't, it's too big. Or are you going to wait there? And probably in this little example here...
So there he takes that step forward. Is that where you then open him? That is the problem with the 3 at the back.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, as I said, it was... Whenever it works, it can work really, really well. But if you're out on your pressing and your organisation to press the game, you can suffer.
Well, in terms of...
Against a good possession team, Jamie.
Well, you had the Manchester United game, you had the Arsenal game. They did the same. They had Sanchez and Ramsey in those wide areas. Do you think it got to the stage where you felt you'd sort of surprised other teams with the system? Had they now found a way to deal with your system? Is that why you had to come away from it? Or was it the system, was the players in the system?
I think it was I think it was just one purely where we'd been on a great run with it. Teams were obviously finding it difficult maybe to play against it. But the Man United game, we lost, and then we were coming straight into this game here, and we lost this one quite convincingly, really, and didn't play so well. And I felt it was something to get us back on track again. But we needed just to go back to stability again, go back to the back four, and then look to work it from there.
We'll do lots more of this later, gentlemen. We need to head to the Liberty Stadium, hear from a man you know well, of course. They've got a new head coach, but this man in charge tonight, Alan Curtis, with Greg Whelan.
Alan, you're in charge tonight, but Swansea now have a new head coach. Give us your reaction to the appointment and tell us how you see it working from here on.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a welcome addition. You know, I think that we were probably short in the on the coaching and managerial side. And I've said in the past that, you know, I'm quite comfortable with the club felt at any time that they wanted to bring somebody to work either alongside or ahead of me, then that was fine with me.
Gwydolyn is here watching tonight. Have you met him? Have you had the chance to talk to him about the team as yet?
No, I haven't yet. I mean, obviously, we've been preparing for the game. But hopefully I'll catch up with him after the game. And I think we're scheduled to meet tomorrow, you know, with the rest of the staff.
A change of formation tonight?
Well, it's a sort of diamond. You know, it's something that, you know, we've swapped back and forth for the last couple of games. And again, it just gives us a little bit more solidity. I think the players are perhaps a little bit more comfortable with it. And, you know, hopefully, you know, it'll be a formation that can get us a result tonight.
You are back in the bottom three. This is a game you really need to win tonight. How are you approaching it?
Yeah, well, you know, with that in mind, really, that we're conscious of the fact that certainly it's important that we don't get beat. But yeah, absolutely, we're looking to pick up the 3 points and get ourselves out of that bottom three.
Alan, thanks very much.
Okay, my pleasure.
And we'll talk about that sort of diamond in just a moment. The fans, the new head coach, will want to see goals tonight. They've only scored 19, Swansea, this season. Only Villa have fewer. Watford have been scoring. Igalo has got 13 of their 25 league goals. Will he be the man again tonight? How will Swansea stop them? We'll look at both teams next. Well, the relegation odds show the change for these two sides tonight. Since the start of the season, Watford were odds-on favourites to go down. They're now 50-1. Swansea's odds have moved in the other direction. Swansea badly need a result tonight. Let's look at that home side first. Lucas Fabianski in goal, a man who's kept 5 clean sheets this season. He's played every single minute of the Premier League season so far, as has the Swansea captain, Ashley Williams. Every minute in the Premier League for him. He starts in central defence once again alongside Fernandes. Carl Norton able to play after that red card was overturned. The red card he picked up against Sunderland. Taylor over at left back. So, Alan Curtis talked about the formation tonight. He described it as a sort of diamond. The 3 in midfield. Jack Cork coming into the side, a man that Brendan Rodgers knows well. Lionel Britton seems to have been at Swansea forever. 13 years, 428 league appearance tonight. Key, the other man in midfield, but it sounds like it will be manoeuvrable, this system, for Swansea tonight. And goals have been the problem. Andre Ayew is the top scorer for them. 7 goals only. All of them have come in the Premier League. He's set to play on this side with Sigurdsson central and Routledge on the left. Can they find those elusive goals tonight? To do that, they will have to beat the Watford goalkeeper Aurelio Gomez, who makes a 50th consecutive league start tonight. 8 clean sheets for him so far this season. In front of him, there are 2 changes to the Watford back four. Cathcart comes in, and the good news for Watford is Nathan Ake returns. That's after he served the ban for his sending off against Spurs. It's a familiar sort of lineup for Watford, the 4-4-2, which we touched upon earlier on, which means the 4 in midfield. Barami is the guy who comes into the side tonight. Capoue has started every Premier League game so far, and Watford had an eventful time against Swansea. He scored against them twice. He's also been sent off against them. Gerardo makes up that midfield, and the familiar 2 up front. What a brilliant season these two have had. 13 of the 25 goals for Igalo, and Deeney alongside him, his 350th league appearance for him. And Brendan, is this the crux of the match tonight? At Southampton, Ronald Koeman went 3 at the back against these two and nullified them. How will Swansea, who don't do that, how will they do it?
Well, I think you hear from Alan firstly. He's talking about playing a diamond, and they've gone about trying to block out the space centrally through a midfield diamond. So as you said, at Southampton they went with the 3, so they've looked at the numerical advantage, 3 versus 2, Swansea, if they set up how we think they are, they're just going to try and let the ball go into the wide areas and just ensure that they can block the space central.
Well, you talk about the teams playing a back three. You mentioned Alan Curtis there talking about playing a diamond. Do you think a lot of that would be Liam Britton's job? Almost a back three, really, but in front, more like a front sweeper. And he's a player you know well. Did he do that job?
Yeah, he's fantastic at it. Just that someone, no matter home or away, he makes himself available, and you see there, just orchestrates the game and always looking, making the angle.
He's someone I think, as you said, you brought back into Swansea, but someone who's maybe slightly different on the Watford side here is Capoue, who's got a major impact in the Premier League this season. And he's probably chalk and cheese, would you agree, in that a completely different type of midfielder, but someone I'm sure you've admired this season in the Premier League, Brendan?
Yeah, absolutely. People, obviously, a lot of talk have been about the front two, and absolutely correct, because they've been outstanding. But the two in behind, Ben Watson and Capoue, have been great. Two different types, they both can play, but Capoue's got that energy and athleticism to then go on and press. So you see him here.
Will he want to get to Britain like this?
Yeah, he'll want to jump and get forward, and obviously feed the front two. So, but I think that balance is good in for them. Ben's an experienced player as well, good passer, can put his foot in and win a tackle like Capoue, but Capoue can go and join in.
What about Swansea going forward, Jamie?
Well, he's mentioned in the interview about playing the diamond. I mean, it's something he has done. He said he's flipped from system, different ones. I mean, there's not, if you actually look at the team, there's not someone who stands out as a striker. I think we both associate Ayew and Routledge in wide areas. But Brendan, that's obviously a system we've spoke about tonight. How would you think that sort of set up there with Sigurdsson? Do you think that's the way they will set up?
Yeah, if he said he's playing the diamond, Alan, then it won't be too far away from that. You get Jack and Key on the outsides that can jump and control the full-backs defensively, but both good on the ball. Gylfi Sigurdsson's a fantastic number 10, and he needs the space to play in there. He's a goal threat, got great technique, great worker, and like what Alan said, where they haven't got the traditional strikers up there, Wayne Routledge will drift, but he's got good speed, and Ayew, who plays normally outside, is always running on the inside. So they've got a lot of technical players there, and they'll try and work their way up into the final third.
Right, kick-off not far away at the Liberty Stadium. The match ball being delivered. The Marines involved there tonight, raising money as well. Spectacular, that is, at the Liberty Stadium tonight. On the field, just 1 point for Watford since Christmas. They're looking to bounce back. Can Swansea climb out of the bottom three in front of their new head coach? The action comes next.